The Royal Bahamas Police Force just granted official permission for the United States Coast Guard to deploy divers into the Sea of Abaco. Let that sink in. Permission granted. Divers are going in.
Because Brian's own GPS data,
Pulled from his personal electronic devices by federal investigators, completely contradicts his entire story about where he went, where the couple sailed that night, and where Lynette actually is. Then, a random viewer left a comment that stopped the internet cold. Technology never lies. Only people do. Somebody knows more. A whole lot more. That single 8-word sentence captured exactly what this whole investigation has been building toward for nearly 2 months. Within hours, it was being liked, shared, and echoed across the web by thousands of strangers who never met Lynette and never sailed a single day in their lives. But they all felt it, because it was true. By the time the public started asking where the yacht Azora actually was, dissecting the GPS tracks, and demanding answers about the crew and captain tied to this case, one woman had already vanished without a trace. Lynette Hooker was supposed to be living the ultimate dream. For years, Lynette and her husband Brian shared a life most could only dream of, sailing through turquoise Bahamian waters and chasing sunsets across the Abacos, building a massive online following around a couple who had abandoned the daily grind forever. Their boat was named Soulmate, and to the outside world, it looked exactly like that. But on one pitch-black night in the Abaco Islands, Lynette vanished. Brian's story seemed simple. Choppy waters, a tiny dinghy, an accident, and a wife swept out to sea. But as detectives dug deeper, his story began to unravel. GPS tracking revealed vessel movements that didn't match Brian's account. Federal agents immediately reopened searches in uncharted, deeper waters. The Coast Guard officially seized the couple's yacht. An onboard infrared camera soon became the center of a criminal investigation. And with each new development, one question echoed louder. What really happened to Lynette Hooker? Was it just a tragic accident in ruthless waters? Or was the ocean exploited as the perfect crime scene? Tonight, we track the digital breadcrumbs and conflicting timelines, the mystery vessels, and the forensic evidence that turned a missing person case into a major international investigation. One where modern technology knows far more than the sole surviving witness. And today, the Royal Bahamas Police Force cleared the United States Coast Guard to deploy divers directly into the Sea of Abaco. Because Brian's own GPS data completely contradicts what he told investigators about his movements and where Lynette is. That is where we begin. Crucially, before anything else, Brian Hooker has not been charged with any crime. His attorney in the Bahamas, Terrell Butler, told Reuters he categorically and unequivocally denies any wrongdoing. According to ABC News, Brian has repeatedly denied any wrongdoing regarding his missing wife. CNN reports his attorney declined to comment on the active search request, citing the ongoing investigation. We will keep that in mind throughout tonight's episode. Every single time. Now, let us go back to April 4th. Deciphering that single night and seeing exactly where Brian's timeline crumbles is key to unlocking everything else we are about to uncover. Brian claims he and Lynette departed the Abaco Inn at around 7:30 that evening. They boarded their 8-foot rigid dinghy, setting course back to their boat, Soulmate, anchored roughly 1,000 yards to the south in Aunt Pat's Bay.
Normally a 12-minute ride in calm seas.
But he claims the water was rough, facing 2 to 4 foot waves and 20-knot winds. Somewhere along that brief crossing, he says, Lynette fell overboard. With the spare engine key inside her dry bag, their motor suddenly died. He simply could not reach her. Strong currents and heavy winds pushed them apart, leaving him drifting for 9 hours until he washed ashore at Marsh Harbor at 4 in the morning. That is his official story. Yet almost every single detail is flatly contradicted by hard, physical evidence. Take the weather.
According to CNN and multiple witnesses,
Video footage and photos taken from that exact spot at that very hour show conditions that were completely flat and calm. No huge waves, no howling winds, just pure glass.
consider the drift. Blaine Stevenson, a close friend of the couple,
Who ran his own drift simulation.
concluded that covering that distance under those wind conditions should have taken only about 5 hours, not 9. Then there is the direction. Brian told rescuers that Lynette was swimming back toward the boat. Yet he told others she swam toward the shore. He even told the boatyard guard, Edward Smith, according to a Fox News exclusive, that she was swimming toward Hopetown carrying a yellow bag. But Hopetown is north, while the vessel lay south. They are completely opposite directions. Plus, Lynette's actual dry bag was green, not yellow. Look at the timing. Brian told everyone else it happened around 7:30 or 8 p.m. Yet he told Edward Smith it occurred at 7 p.m. in early April. 7 p.m. in the Abacos is still daylight. Completely bright, unlike the pitch-black conditions he claimed to the public. Regarding flares, Brian told Darlene, Lynette's mother, that he shot off 2 flares. But physical evidence from the dinghy proves only one was ever fired. Another remained loaded in the launcher. Finally, look at the terrain. Nathan, a dedicated volunteer who did incredible boots-on-the-ground work,
Recorded the exact path Brian would have taken to reach the houses where he claims he went door to door.
thick mangroves, deep water, black sludge,
Ravines.
Navigating absolute darkness in blue slides, while a well-lit boatyard stood just 150 yards north along the rocky shore.
Yet, according to Jim Todd of the local volunteer rescue squad, who was right there on the scene when Brian stepped onto the rescue boat, those same blue slides showed no traces of mud, sludge, or dirt. Every single piece of his story crumbles under close scrutiny. And we have reached the critical turning point of this entire investigation, and every single detail matters. According to a CNN report confirmed by a United States official close to the active investigation, the U.S. Coast Guard is deploying divers to new search zones for Lynette Hooker after investigators uncovered massive discrepancies between her husband's digital location data and his official statements to detectives regarding where they should look for his wife. Let me repeat that, because the exact phrasing here is critical.
Glaring contradictions between her husband's GPS tracking and his stories to police.
That is a United States official on the record with CNN, confirming that Brian Hooker's personal GPS tracking does not align with his own statements to federal agents about his movements, where the couple actually went that night and where detectives need to look. According to ABC News, forensic data pulled from Brian Hooker's phones has pointed investigators toward brand new search areas that were completely overlooked before. A United States official has confirmed that the story Hooker gave to investigators flatly contradicts the digital tracking data from his own devices. According to CNN, the Royal Police Force has already signed off. It is not pending. No negotiations are happening. The green light has been given. Coast Guard divers are now plunging into the Sea of Abaco at coordinates retrieved from Brian Hooker's devices, places he kept completely secret from everyone.
Waters that have never been explored before.
According to Fox News Digital, a Bahamian source confirmed this fresh recovery effort focuses on a section of the Sea of Abaco where depths reach 25 feet. 25 feet. That is deep enough that flyovers by Coast Guard planes, active since the very start of this investigation, could easily have missed anything resting on the seabed. Only specialized divers sent to these exact coordinates will discover what lies beneath. According to CBS News, digital tracking from one of Brian's devices captured him stopping out on the Sea of Abaco before heading back to land. Not just drifting.
Not floating helplessly. He stopped at a deliberate spot and returned.
This is not how a man behaves after losing his wife, floating aimlessly for 9 hours at the mercy of the elements. This is the path of someone who traveled with purpose, paused, and then made his way back. Currently, Brian Hooker faces no criminal charges. His lawyers firmly maintain his innocence. Yet his own digital footprint is guiding investigators to hidden spots, and the Bahamian government has cleared them to search. Now, let us examine how this tracking data was actually created.
When you break down the technical side, the true gravity of this evidence becomes clear.
Brian Hooker carried multiple electronic devices, several phones and several tablets. By closely analyzing the couple's public social media history, investigators discovered something highly suspicious.
He owned 2 distinct watches.
A prominent white watch seen during his release from Bahamian custody, and a second greenish-black watch visible in older online posts. That second timepiece turns out to be crucial. Blaine Stevenson, a close friend to the couple and a key figure in this case, recently demonstrated its capabilities on camera.
He held up his personal watch,
A Garmin Quadix Marine Quadix smartwatch demonstrating exactly how it tracks coordinates. It lets you plot GPS routes, guiding you through pitch blackness straight to a precise coordinate.
It tracks your precise location on the open water in real time.
Every turn, every stop, every depth is logged and timestamped. Blaine noted that during his own drift reconstruction for this investigation, the transmitted data originated from his watch, not from his phone, not from any other device, just his watch. Now, here is the theory, and keep in mind, this is purely analysis.
Not confirmed fact, since Brian has not been charged. Here it is.
If Brian wore a marine navigation watch and slipped out on that silent electric dinghy at night, that watch tracked everything.
Every coordinate, every pause, the water depth beneath him, his route back to the shore.
All of it time-stamped and automatically synced to cloud servers. Stored remotely, and he had no way to delete it. Not retroactively, not from the device logs.
Not from the connected apps, and definitely not from the servers hosting that data. According to Fox News Digital,
the latest dive search relies on GPS tracking from Brian's phone while running a marine navigation app. And Fox News Digital also reported. A United States official confirmed that the Hooker's dinghy allegedly traveled to the exact area shown in that GPS data. The dinghy ended up in the exact location revealed by the GPS.
That is a federal official confirming that Brian's personal tracking device
and the dinghy were in that exact spot.
A location Brian never once mentioned to investigators.
A spot under 25 feet of water that federal divers are actively searching. Now, let us examine what was actually installed on Soulmate. Because Brian, a former AT&T technician who wired his own vessel and, according to his wife, obsessed over the gear, understood every system on that boat. And every single one of those systems was keeping logs. There were security cameras, according to investigators and Carly Ellsworth, who visited in February. A Blink security camera system was active on Soulmate. These cameras instantly upload footage to the cloud, onto Amazon servers easily accessible by federal subpoena, no matter what became of the physical devices. One camera sat at the back of the pilot house facing forward, while another at the bow pointed back, capturing every inch of the cockpit. Plus, at least one camera below deck, with all of them potentially active on the night of April 4th. Then there was the battery management system, a fresh setup installed after lightning fried the old one. Modern systems like this record every single electrical event with a highly precise timestamp. When a light switches on, when the water pump runs, every time a device charges, the stove fires, or someone draws power on that boat, the log documents it. If anyone stepped onto Soulmate after 7:30 on April 4th, that log holds the proof. If the vessel was indeed empty and dark like Brian claims, the system proves that too. Don't forget the Starlink satellite terminal mounted way up on the mast.
Any device passing within range of it.
Any smartphone or linked watch would have automatically connected to Soulmate's local network. And that handshake was logged.
Digitally timestamped on SpaceX servers, now fully accessible to federal investigators under a Department of Justice subpoena. Regardless of what Brian did to the physical devices on board that boat.
Then there was the AIS, the Automatic Identification System broadcasting the boat's location. It went completely dark at 9:29 in the evening on April 4th, only powering back up at 8:34 the next morning, 11 silent hours on a boat packed with solar energy. That does not happen by accident. And then there was the FLIR thermal camera.
According to Daniel Danforth,
A family friend who spoke to Fox News Digital, Soulmate was equipped with an infrared thermal imaging system worth $33,000. It easily detects heat signatures in pitch-black darkness. It can automatically track a body in dark water. This is the exact equipment search and rescue crews use to locate people in open water at night. Brian Hooker claims his wife fell into the open ocean. He claims he couldn't find her, saying the darkness and strong currents swept her away.
yet a $33,000 thermal camera sat on his boat, fully capable of locating her.
He never switched it on.
Not during that critical night, nor the next morning while sitting below deck on Soulmate for an hour with the police. Not once. According to Fox News Digital, detectives are now extracting data from onboard electronics, including that infrared camera, seeking any hidden clues surrounding the sudden disappearance of Lynette Hooker. According to CBS News, more evidence is undergoing analysis at the FBI laboratory. In Quantico, Virginia, the onboard tech was watching. It was recording everything. It kept an undeniable log. And Brian failed to shut all of it down. Now, a crucial detail has been confirmed by a federal official and reported by Fox News Digital. And it points directly to where this active investigation is heading next. The vessel Soulmate was recently moved from the Coast Guard facility in Fort Pierce, traveling 100 miles south to the larger Coast Guard base in Fort Lauderdale. The reason? Local authorities lacked the heavy equipment to lift the yacht in Fort Pierce. But Fort Lauderdale has it. Pulling it from the water. Those few words reveal the entire story. Once a boat is hoisted completely out of the water, resting on blocks inside a dry dock, forensic teams can analyze every single inch. The lower hull, the keel, the through-hull connections, and the entire underbelly. Every square inch submerged in ocean water. Since that fateful night of April 4th, it all becomes accessible. Now everything can be examined. Then comes preservation. Safely out of the water, Soulmate can be sealed up, shielded from the elements, or even shrink-wrapped. Every inch. Every single cabin and all physical evidence on that boat frozen in time. Safely preserved for any upcoming legal action.
Prepared to be wheeled right into a courtroom if necessary.
The very yacht Lynette bought, the place she called home, the boat she personally sewed bimini tops for. That vessel is now key federal evidence bound for a dry dock.
And the forensic experts trained to search every single corner
Are about to gain direct access to areas they have never been able to reach before.
Now, here is the single most critical question that investigators and onlookers alike have been asking since day one.
It is the exact point highlighted in our viewer comments. Just where are the yacht Azura, its captain, and crew? The Azura was anchored in Aunt Pat's Bay on April 4th, floating right alongside Soulmate. Close enough that anyone on board would have had a perfect view of that anchorage all night. According to CBS News, the Coast Guard Investigative Service is urgently trying to find the people aboard the sailboat moored near Soulmate the night Lynette vanished. Official documents suggest the occupants of that mysterious vessel likely hold critical clues for the active federal probe. So, what exactly did the Azura crew witness that night? Around 8 p.m.,
Onshore witnesses reported seeing a bright flare,
but not from where the dinghy was drifting in open water.
It came directly from Soulmate.
The light shot horizontally right across the dark water, instead of arcing into the sky,
Like a standard distress signal would be fired.
Past 9:30,
As the island grew quiet and ambient noise faded, a witness heard a heavy splash coming from Soulmate.
something loud enough to register, loud enough to remember.
Then, around midnight, a local resident named Dean, who lives on Lubber's Quarters facing Elbow Cay, was recording video. His camera captured strange light activity on Soulmate, flickering on and off,
Scanning low near the water where a dinghy sits, and high up on the deck, right at midnight when Brian claims the vessel was completely deserted. If Azura was nearby, and if her crew was awake at 8, 9:30, and midnight, they likely saw or heard it all: the flare, the splash, the moving lights. They might have watched everything unfold.
If you have any details about the vessel Azura, its crew, or were anchored in Aunt Pat's Bay on April 4th,
Please submit anonymous tips through the Coast Guard app, available on iOS and Android.
Now, before moving forward, we must focus on a chilling detail present in this case from day one. One that grows heavier with every new piece of evidence.
Brian Hooker had actually threatened to toss Lynette overboard long before she vanished. According to CNN, Carly Ellsworth revealed that in 2024,
During a brief breakup, Lynette confided that Brian had choked her and threatened her life, vowing to throw her overboard so she would never be found.
Then, in January of 2026,
Mere months before she vanished, Lynette recounted that threat again, just weeks before she disappeared forever from a boat at sea.
reports from NBC News show a 2015 Michigan police file documenting a domestic dispute between them.
Lynette told officers that Brian had choked and physically assaulted her during that fight.
Those charges were eventually dropped.
Brian faced no legal action, but the incident was officially logged with a formal case number.
According to Lynette's close friend, Monty, relayed through Blaine Stevenson during their 2023 breakup, Lynette insisted she could no longer sail with Brian or be isolated on a boat with him.
Even Darlene Hamel, Lynette's mother, recalled pleading with her daughter never to return to him the last time they spoke. She was terrified of what was coming next. Lynette booked a flight to escape Brian on March 11th, barely 3 weeks before she went missing. But she never boarded that flight. And now, federal divers are plunging into the Sea of Abaco,
Tracing GPS coordinates from Brian's own device, searching 25-foot deep water for Lynette. According to Fox News Digital, Lynette Hooker's family has already handed over DNA samples to investigators.
Darlene, Carly, and Lynette's father,
All three are waiting for news. So if those divers make a recovery, identification can happen immediately while the team is on site. He threatened to toss her overboard, boasting that nobody would ever find her body.
Now, search teams are heading to the exact coordinates his own device recorded,
To find out if his dark boast actually came true. Brian Hooker faces no criminal charges, and his lawyers maintain his absolute innocence.
We state that clearly. Now, let me lay out the timeline.
As one viewer put it, technology never lies, only people do. Someone knows the truth. Where is the yacht Azura? And where are her captain and crew? That viewer was completely right. The onboard technology was not lying. It never does.
The GPS device captured exactly where Brian traveled on the night of April 4th.
The vessel's navigation app tracked every stop, while Starlink registered every single digital connection. Even the battery system logged every power surge and drop. Security cameras kept rolling, but the AIS went dark at 9:29, restarting at 8:34. Everything on board was building a silent digital record.
And according to CNN, confirmed by a United States official close to the case,
The United States Coast Guard is deploying divers to fresh search areas. Hunting for Lynette Hooker, after detectives uncovered massive gaps between her husband's digital tracks and his actual story.
The Royal Bahamas Police Force has already granted full permission. According to ABC News, the details Hooker shared with police conflict with his own GPS tracking. A United States official confirmed those discrepancies directly to ABC News. Soulmate is currently heading to dry dock in Fort Lauderdale. Meanwhile, the FBI processes critical evidence at Quantico. They have collected DNA samples from 3 immediate family members. CGSI divers are searching 25-foot-deep waters in the Sea of Abaco, targeting coordinates Brian's GPS recorded. Spots he chose to hide from every single investigator. Brian Hooker has not been charged, and his defense team maintains his complete innocence. His legal counsel declined to comment on the new underwater search. These hard facts matter, and we will repeat them at every step. Today, Lynette Hooker has been missing for 54 agonizing days. At 55 years old, she chose this nautical life deliberately, deeply loving the ocean. She captured every beautiful and challenging day at sea, calling the water her happy place. She loved running with her daughter, and even sewed the biminis for her vessel. She bought healing oil to treat her husband's persistent nail fungus. She was the rare soul who made everyone feel like they had won the lottery just by knowing her.
And the very technology that quietly surrounded her life on board, the silent cameras, the GPS tracking, the server logs, the silent pinging, it watched the night she vanished, keeping a permanent record.
Brian thought he understood the technology well enough to outsmart it. He wired that boat himself. He knew every single system. But he couldn't reach back in time and erase what the GPS had already saved. He couldn't wipe a server at SpaceX, nor could he erase a Starlink connection already logged in orbit. He couldn't reach into the cloud and claw back what the security cameras had already uploaded. Technology doesn't lie. Right now, federal divers are descending into the water, tracing those exact recorded coordinates. To bring Lynette home safely, we'll be standing right here, tracking every single development that follows. If you have any information at all about the night of April 4th, the vessel Azura and its crew, or those search areas, or anything tied to this investigation, please report it anonymously through the CGIS Tips app on iOS or Android. You can find the link below. Please support Carly and Darlene by searching GoFundMe for Lynette Hooker Missing in Bahamas. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because when those divers break the surface, you need to be here. Darlene, Carly, 54 days. We haven't stopped searching, not for a single day. Technology doesn't lie, and it is about to reveal everything.